Sabia que você inspira outras pessoas? Às vezes é difícil reconhecer o seu valor, mas eu tô aqui pra dizer, você vale muito. L'Oréal Paris quer lembrar todas as mulheres disso, inclusive no cinema. Por isso, criou o Lights on Women's Worth Awards no Festival de Cannes, um prêmio que celebra as diferentes narrativas das mulheres no cinema e inspira outras, porque representatividade e reconhecimento são importantes. L'Oréal Paris, porque você vale muito.
You must tell me all your secrets. Remember, we must share everything together. Everything.
I feel really weird tonight. Like something's gonna happen.
Me too.
What's your name anyway?
Xavier.
Is it cool if I just call you X?
There's something evil about him.
W666.
Girls. Guts. Gelato.
Okay.
Guts, Jello, Biafra.
Hello, you're listening to Girls, Guts, and Giallo. I'm Annie Rose Mallow. I can't. I'm leaving that in. Hello, you're listening to Girls, Guts, and Giallo. I'm Annie Rose Malamet, and I'm here today with my longtime friend, Chingy. Hi, Chingy.
Welcome to Girls, Guts, and Gelato.
Okay,
Hi.
Chingy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh, God. You're going to make me plug myself. Okay.
You have to.
I know. Okay.
Oh my God, bitch.
Girls, Guts, and Jello, Biafra. Welcome.
Okay, go closer to the mic.
Okay.
This is all staying in.
Why? Okay. I'm really comporting myself. That's a word, right? Comporting? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a word. You can also hold it if you need to.
I make words. Yeah. I am a writer, comedian, performer, and a really great bottom. I'm a better bottom than you. I write columns for Autostraddle, Out Magazine. I've been featured in Vice and BuzzFeed. I run a party called Mommy Issues in LA. That's like a kinky, queer, thirsty dance party. I also am a screenwriter and do theater. I do way too many things.
You do a lot.
I hate my hyphenate. There's just too many. I also recently started a blog called The Bottoms Line, where I am the bottom in question on that line. I'm really great at plugging myself.
She's accomplished.
And I make memes. That's what everybody loves to come up to me about. I'm the meme bitch. Yeah, hi. Welcome to Girls, Guts, and Jiggly Caliente.
So, Chingy and I have known each other since around 2012, I want to say, from Tumblr days.
I was never on Tumblr. I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. Glad that policy is still in effect, yes.
Glad, it was a special time and place. 2012 Tumblr. A lot of terrible discourse. But we made it.
And terrible discourse also made it. It's still alive and well.
And today we're talking about the Gregg Araki film, The Doom Generation.
Yeah.
This was Chingy's pick. Chingy loves Gregg Araki.
He is my favorite filmmaker. This is not my favorite Gregg Araki film. That is Nowhere. The film's name is Nowhere, which is part of the same trilogy. It's like a spiritual trilogy. They're not actually... it's called the Teenage Apocalypse Trilogy, starting with Totally Fucked Up, followed by The Doom Generation, and then Nowhere. They're all late 90s movies about queer-mo, freak-ass teenagers in an apocalyptic LA with violence, drugs, culty shit, aliens, just weird. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, very apropos because we're in LA right now.
Unfortunately, yes, we are here.
This is where Chingy lives.
This is where I live. This is where I'm from.
So this movie's from 1995, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why did you pick this movie for us to talk about?
Well, so Nowhere, my original idea, is my favorite film, but I know that Girls, Guts, and Giallo. Did I say it right this time?
Yeah, you got it.
Girls, Guts, and Yellow focuses on, the feminine image in trashy movies.
Yeah.
And this is a very trashy movie and is very focused. Like, Nowhere does not focus as much on the feminine image, although it features a large cast of talented actresses, including Rachel True from The Craft.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So we missed out on that. And Christina Applegate, my wife. I'm actually married to Christina Applegate. But the Doom Generation does very much focus on the feminine image. Sorry.
We'll edit it out.
Great. Umami burger is almost here. And that feminine image is Rose McGowan in this movie.
Yeah, 90s Rose. So this movie was shot in LA over the course of a month.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, and it was shot mostly at night and in less developed areas because Araki wanted it to have more of an apocalyptic feel to it.
Each of the I know that each of the main characters has a last name. There's Amy Blue, Jordan,
Jordan White, and Xavier Red, and each of them has a lighter, and the color of their light, the flame in their lighter is a different color than the color in their and
name.
also red, white, and blue because we're in America.
I didn't even put that together.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. God bless America.
God bless
America is a big theme in this movie, or at least at the end.
Oh, apparently Rose McGowan essentially got the part when she ran into Gregg Araki outside an LA gym.
Yeah, it features a lot of themes from other Gregg Araki movies. Like I said, like sex, drugs, violence, homoeroticism. It's actually, I think, one of his first films to have like a boy-girl romance at the center of it, because most of his films before then had some critics describe them as, I don't know if a critic described this as it, but faggot movies that faggots hate because terrible things happen in them. And it's like, I would say Gregg Araki's style is like camp in a similar way to John Waters like stuff, but in a trashy 90s. Oh, sorry, that's my mommy burger. What's that?
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Can you talk a little bit about why are you so drawn to Gregg Araki's films?
I grew up in Los Angeles, and I grew up in Venice Beach, and I knew I was gay from a very early age, and I also knew I was a pervert from a very early age. Oh yeah, that's a very big part of my work, being a pervert.
She's a big old pervert.
I'm a huge pervert, and I write about BDSM a lot. I should have mentioned that while I was a writer and a comedian, that like almost all of it centers around
I should have just plugged you.
Yeah, you should have just plugged me. What the shit, Annie Rose Malamet? Yeah, I write about BDSM and polyamory and being a big ol' homo. And that the movies of Gregg Araki were kind of the first time I experienced those outside of just like how I felt. These things that are like a core part of how I live and who I am now as an adult. And also I kind of like looked like a dykey version of James Duval growing up because I'm mixed race and nobody can ever figure out what I am. And James Duval starred in Nowhere, The Doom Generation, and Totally Fucked Up. Yeah, Gregg Araki was just like the first time I learned what queer cinema was, and like in a way that wasn't shitty gay movies I saw on Logo when my dad wasn't home.
Real.
Which was, I was just like, because at a very early age I was like, oh, does all gay content suck? I hate that. And then it doesn't. Spoiler alert.
And it's gotten better.
Sometimes. Like yeah, like movies like Gregg Araki's films and then Todd Haynes' films like Velvet Goldmine was really big for me. Yeah. It just like rang very true to how I felt in my experience growing up in LA, which was a lot of sex, drugs, violence, and homo shit, or like offshoots of homo shit. But like, I don't know, it made me not dislike LA as much as I always did growing up, because they were all centered there, and it's not like they're the only film centered in LA, but like, it was a part of LA I didn't both saw reflected and didn't feel reflected in.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I saw this movie back in the day on, I want to say like the IFC channel at like 2 a.m. or something.
Was it before Portlandia and all that proliferated?
It was, it was before all that.
Yeah.
It was when I was in high school, so it was definitely before all that. And I think, weirdly enough, the first Gregg Araki movie I saw was Splendor, which...
That's such a weird first Gregg Araki movie to see.
Which is also a male-female dynamic, but like the wholesome romantic comedy version of it.
And it stars the same lead, the guy who plays Xavier.
Right.
I think it's Matt Schlaker or something.
We'll confirm that.
Yeah. But that's an interesting movie because... So... It also, Nowhere, the film that follows this, this was 95, Nowhere was 1997, and then Splendor was 1999, I believe. All of those films feature, like, male-female romantic pairings with also a third male in them, but Nowhere also features another female in them, and also just like is a lot more Bacallian in it's just like Bacchanalian in its like delivery. But it's interesting because this was actually Gregg Araki's bisexual period.
Yeah, because he was dating the actress from Splendor,
Kathleen Robertson. Yeah. So who was also in Nowhere. Yeah. It was his bisexual period, which is just a really funny name for a period.
Well, he identifies as gay, but is like he
dated Kathleen Robertson, and that was like the end of it.
Yeah,
as far as we see, LA is so central to Gregg Araki's films.
Yeah,
Mysterious Skin, I think, is the only one that does not take place in LA, and that is, but there is a character who is from LA.
Yeah.
In it, and I mean that's because it's something that has source material.
Right, it's based on a book. Yeah, a great book. I love that book.
It is that and Nowhere are tied for my favorite films. That's
Mysterious Skin is great.
It's my prestige favorite film, whereas Nowhere is my trash favorite film.
Yeah. So let's get into talking about the plot, and I'll pick out some scenes.
The plot is. I don't even know if it is a plot.
There's a vague plot. The movie opens and we get title text that says a heterosexual movie by Gregg Araki.
I do love that part.
Yeah, so we're in for a wild ride. Opens in a club, blasting 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, it's very
Very 90s.
He's wearing a Ministry shirt, or was he? Yeah, he's wearing a Ministry shirt.
Yeah, James Duvall's wearing a Ministry shirt, and Rose McGowan, Amy Blue, is looking for her skull lighter, which will become a motif.
Ew, yuck! You're all sweaty.
What you looking for?
My skull lighter. I swear if it's missing, I'll slit my wrist.
And if she doesn't find it, she's going to slit her wrists. So this is she's gonna slit her wrist. That's what she says.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also, because of the cultural moment that we're in right now, like everything's centering around Rose McGowan. And Me Too and all this shit. It's fascinating to me to see her in this role.
So I'm curious, what was the first time you experienced Rose McGowan growing up?
Oh, good one.
Because mine was Charmed.
Mine was Jawbreaker.
Okay, that makes sense. Jawbreaker is another one of my favorite films.
Of course it is. Yeah, big old perv.
It's so fucked up. Yeah. In both of these films, Rose McGowan like does like phallic things to men that she is in relationships with.
Oh, I mean, she's a like dom icon.
Yeah, she is
of the 90s.
Yeah, and also like I had an interest in her when I was in my teen years because she dated Marilyn Manson.
But yeah, it's fascinating to see her in this role. She's so young. That was what I was struck by. And when we see her, I mean, she was Uma Thurman from Pulp Fiction before.
She looks like every femme in Portland.
Yeah, she's got a straight black bob.
It's like I call it a Carrie Brownstein bob.
Yes, yeah.
Because sometimes it's brunette, not just like black. But it's,
right. So if you it's a highly Tumblr-ed film.
It really is.
So people have probably seen those images.
Yeah.
Of her with the black bob.
Yeah. Her big old leather jacket, yeah.
Yeah, and her big leather jacket, yeah. And she, we kind of automatically get introduced in this scene. She's a hyperbolic, to say the least.
Yes.
She is always making a scene.
Mm-hmm.
We meet her boyfriend, James Duval, Jordan. Yes. He's wearing a Ministry t-shirt.
I always call him Dark because that's his character's name in Nowhere.
Okay.
So every time I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, Dark. Dark was doing this, and Jordan. He doesn't look like a Jordan.
No, they also call him Jordo.
And Nutlicker.
Yeah.
Is so Amy and Nutlicker.
Amy and Nutlicker are in the club. They leave. They start to have try to have awkward sex in Amy's car.
But they're virgins.
But they're both virgins.
I forgot that part, that they were virgins.
Yeah, that they're both virgins. And he says he's scared of AIDS. That's why he doesn't want to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And then they say they both feel like something weird is going to happen. Which, oh boy, does it ever.
That was such a mom. Oh boy, does it ever.
Amy says she feels trapped. She said she was driving on the freeway and she was
I was on the 405.
Yeah, she was on the 405.
And I just thought about all the dead bodies piled up, needing to get out.
Yeah, and I was at that point, I was like, what dead bodies are you talking about?
It's a lie. But it's just this is definitely, so all of Gregg Araki's characters, at least in these films, do heavily tend towards hyperbole and just talking about random. It is a huge influence on me as a writer, but also I'm just sometimes when I go back and watch them, I'm just you're kind of just talking out of your ass, weren't you, Greg?
Weren't you, Greg?
I'm you were a young auteur.
Do you know how old he was when he made this?
He had to. I think he was already in his 30s.
Well, he was born in 59.
If he was born in 59 and this was 95, then he was already in his 30s. He's 35. He was 36, I think.
Okay, I'm just kind of obsessed with
I'm not a
culture.
Major. Don't check me on that.
They also say there's no place for us in this world in that car scene, and then we meet Xavier.
Yeah.
Because he's getting jumped by a bunch of dudes, and he lands on the hood of their car and gets into the car, and he's like, drive.
He's naked, and
he's naked. Yeah.
I love when he's just they're Dark Jordan is like, oh, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. I love getting the shit beaten out of me. And I was like, girl, same.
Yeah. Yeah. So we learned that his name is Xavier Red. Jordan and X already have a ton of sexual tension.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan's just very bottomy.
He's my God.
He's just oh, hey, what's that?
Yeah, he's ready to bust it wide open.
Yeah.
Immediately upon meeting Xavier.
Yeah. he keeps insulting Amy, and she's like, get the fuck out of my car. And then they go to a convenience store after Xavier has left their car, Jordan and Amy. Rose McGowan, and I'm not going to be able... Rose and Nutlicker go to a convenience store, and there's definitely a sign in the store that says shoplifters will be, in all red, executed.
Yeah, there's all these like weird apocalyptic signs in the movie.
Another big motif of his work. And she's smoking in the store, and the convenience store guy tells her like to put it out.
And she says, eat my fuck.
And then he pulls out a shotgun, and then she does put it out and throw it in the trash.
Hey, no smoking here.
Jesus.
Hey, garlic. You pick up.
Eat my fuck.
James Duval, Nutlicker, goes to get all the hot dogs that he's just dressed. And the price of it, first of all, is $6.66. Everything in the movie will cost $6.66. Get it? It's the number of the beast. Greg hopes you get it. 1995, Gregg Araki hopes you get it because it's funny to him. And I'm like, it's fine.
It's cute.
Yeah, cute job, Greg. I'm on first name basis apparently. But and then he finds out Nutlicker finds out that he doesn't have his money. I hope it's not confusing that I keep calling him Nutlicker. Nutlicker, James Duval, finds out that he didn't have his money. Rose McGowan figures out she doesn't have her money. So I think Xavier definitely like pickpocketed them or something. And then they're like gonna go back to the car to check for it.
But the cashier is pointing.
He's like, no, you can't go back.
Right. He's pointing the gun at them. He has 3 disinterested children.
And a wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume they're married.
Yeah.
You shouldn't make assumptions about people. They might not be married. They might be, I don't know.
But he has 3 disinterested children who like keep looking back and then they look away. He's also like presumably like supposed to be an immigrant, and he's standing under a sign that says America, love it or leave it.
I didn't even remember that sign. I mean, there's America is such a...
Yeah, he's standing under a giant sign that says America, love it or leave it. And he cocks his gun.
Ready to shoot them for going...
Right.
Trying to go get their wallets from their car.
And Xavier attacks him.
Xavier, who left the car much earlier, just shows up and like quote unquote saves the day.
Right.
And then
but he decapitates
somehow
the cashier.
The cashier becomes decapitated, and we get our first major bit of gore where his like head is still alive after it's decapitated.
And like puking.
Yeah, like puking like pesto or something.
Yep. And they rob the market and they run. And when they're in the car, I really wanted to sort of is talking about the murdering the guy, and he uses a racial slur.
So I'm Asian, so I'm just gonna say with the racial slurs, it's gook. He said gook. Yeah.
And Araki is Japanese American.
Yes, he is.
He's Asian. And I just felt like that was significant.
So I think about this a lot in the fact that, as someone who's thought a lot about the films of Gregg Araki, there aren't very many Asian characters in Gregg Araki's films. James Duval is, his mother is from Saigon, and his father is Native and a couple other things, not Native and like Dutch or something. But yeah, James Duval is the main Asian American person who appears in Gregg Araki's films. At least these ones. Most of the cast is usually white. Yeah. I don't know why that is. I was thinking about it today in preparation for this. I don't know if it was like... It's not that it would be hard for him to cast Asian actors, even though Asian actors are often the people who get cast the least for roles, especially prominent roles, because his films were not, and are still not, mainstream. Like, they usually have French backers, because his films are very art house and culty. But yeah.
Yeah, I was just so, I mean, you don't hear that one a lot, that slur a lot. So.
You don't.
True. Yeah. No, I think, you don't hear it in film a lot, is what I mean.
Yeah.
But valid. And it was really shocking because you just don't hear it that much in film.
Yeah, and it's, Gregg Araki is definitely an auteur in that he directs his films, he does the music coordination for them, he produces them, and he writes them. So every line of dialogue in these films, he's putting in these actors' mouths.
Yeah.
I think it's all very much, I mean, it is, like, there are themes in the film, like, America comes up a lot as a nation, and, like, having an immigrant character, yeah, I don't know. It's a whole bag of...
Yeah, I mean, it just feels very intentional, obviously.
Yeah, and, like, how white people see, like, Asian Americans and immigrants in it.
Well, I also...
Or the Asian American character, yeah.
Right. I also... that's kind of what I was trying to get at, is, like, that it's interesting to see how these characters that supposedly Gregg Araki... I started to feel like, oh, maybe he doesn't like these characters. Like, maybe they're not supposed to be the heroes of the story.
He likes to write about teenagers and youth, and yeah, like, you follow them, but it's not necessarily like that there's, like, it's not that they're villain protagonists or necessarily anti-heroes, they're just protagonists.
Yeah.
You're following them and you're watching them, but, like, it is very intentional that out of the main cast, also, I keep wanting to call him Dark, James Duval, Nutlicker, is the most sympathetic character out of the trio of main characters,
right.
And also who is the actor of color in the film. My theory a lot of the time has been that James Duval is usually a author avatar for, like...
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, it usually feels that way, because he usually, in this trilogy, he plays central roles, and in all three of them, is a lot more passive than, like he... I don't know if it's passive, but he's pacifistic in a lot of them.
And naive.
Yeah, in this one, he's just a sweet, young little closet case.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And totally fucked up. He's, like, falling for the first guy he's ever really cared for, and there's a line from it that's always stuck with me that was like, "Don't touch me unless you mean," or "Don't kiss me unless you mean it." And then in nowhere, he's, like, in love and surrounded by all this, like, orgiastic, I just made that up on the spot.
Orgiastic
behavior, and, like, just wants a simple connection, and someone who he can fall madly in love with and just stare into their eyes. That's my 90s James Duval impression.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
His character is definitely always portrayed as one of the more altruistic and just, like, generally benevolent characters in these films, full of, like, asshole young adults.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, when you look at it that way, I mean, it kind of seems like he's just being, like, like, manipulated by these terrible white characters, which, like, because he's so much more innocent than the two of them.
I don't even know if it's that, because, like, I don't think that James Duval, I think an interesting thing about James Duval is that, like, because as someone who is ethnically ambiguous, no one ever thinks I'm, like, no one can ever figure out what I am, and no one could ever figure out what James Duval is most of the time, because, like, he's very ethnically ambiguous, and so, like, he can pass as white, and, like, race doesn't, like, his character's race never comes up in any of the
it's
films.
never explicitly addressed.
And, like, I don't even know if it's that. I just think it's that, like, his characters are definitely usually adrift, looking for something. And in this one, it seems like he does have not necessarily agency, because he's, like, everything that keeps happening is related to, like, what Xavier's doing and what Amy is doing. But, like, he's supposed to be, like, a kicked fucking puppy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, now we get to the motel.
Now they get to the motel and they're talking about their families.
And it's the 666 motel.
Is it the 666 motel? That just tracks. That's just good sense. They go to a lot of motels.
They go to a lot of motels.
This is a road movie.
Yeah, it's like a kind of a perversion of the classic American road trip movie.
This is not Gregg Araki's first time doing that, because The Living End was an AIDS-related road movie, which was one of his earlier films.
Right. There's a lot of... Gregg Araki addresses AIDS in a lot of his movies.
Yeah, I don't know if he addresses things a lot, but he also just kind of just like, look at that, huh?
Yeah.
Huh? I love him though. He's great. Like if a straight white dude made these films, it would be a lot more upsetting.
Oh my God, I would hate them.
I would hate them so much, but knowing like that, like Gaysian made them, I'm like, okay, you're being very silly, but okay, buddy.
Right. Amy says that her mom is an ex-addict and now she's a Scientologist. And this is when they're at the motel.
Yeah.
And her dad is dead, but she's happy about it because he was always trying to molest her.
And then Xavier's just like, my dad, or someone died after shooting.
Xavier's mother killed his dad and then killed herself, which is a role reversal because usually that's a male crime. And Jordan just says his parents live in
Encino.
Yeah, in Encino. That's it.
That was the real tragedy out of all of it. It's also like, I very much noticed, I was like, wow. Yeah, this is very much a faggot writing sorry, can I say faggot over and over?
You can say whatever your heart desires.
That a faggot wrote a movie about like heterosexuals, because just everything that Xavier says to Amy in the car at the beginning is just all related to like her being a woman, and it's just like, what's wrong? Are you on your period? Like, it's just like, wow, this is just some nasty little fag. Just like,
yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I mean, and nothing about this. I mean, it's like so obvious that like Jordan is a closet case through this whole movie. Xavier and Jordan are like having sexual tension where they're like basically almost making out. And Jordan reveals that him and Amy have only been together for like 3 months.
He's like, whoa, a really long time.
Yeah.
3 months.
Right. So we start to see themes here of poking fun at youthful romance and sexuality.
Yeah, it's teenagers and it's the apocalypse.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how old do you think Xavier is supposed to be?
So Xavier, I think, so they're both referred to as teenagers, and Amy's age is specifically given as 18. So I think that wait, did you say Xavier or Jordan?
Xavier.
Oh, I have no idea then. I can't keep track of it.
Is he like a grown man?
I feel like he's like a 23-year-old drifter.
Okay.
You know all those 23-year-old drifters. He's like an oogle.
He's one of them. Yeah, an oogle. Oh my God. Jordan goes into the bathroom to pee while Amy is taking a bath. They lock eyes while Jordan is peeing, and then he gets in the bath and they have sex. Xavier, while this is happening, sees on TV that their recent murder is being covered.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, it's obviously like it's played for comedy, the TV segment.
Is it Christopher Knight? Who's the guy who was one of the Bradys?
Christopher Knight.
That's Christopher Knight.
Oh my God.
He's one of the newscasters on this bizarre news channel where they're talking about the earring, the only piece of evidence found at the crime scene.
Right.
Skull earrings sold at rock and roll paraphernalia stores to young teens who...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's also some like allusion here to satanic panic mentality in the media. And it's obviously being made fun of. This is when we find out that the cashier's name was Win Cocksuck. So
the majority of the film is like very much like tongue in cheek.
Totally.
Like it's like all played for a joke, except kind of the last scene. But even then,
yeah. Then this is when Xavier goes to the bathroom and he watches Jordan and Amy have sex.
Yeah, there's a lot of that,
and he jerks off watching it.
Which is
Okay.
And then
the thing I forgot about the news thing is that we find out that the cashier's wife, in a fit of despair, disemboweled all her children and then killed herself.
Yes.
So Xavier is very excited about this because now there's no witnesses.
Yay!
And that's what he tells Amy and Jordan.
When they're in the car later and headed to that weird burger. What's the burger place called? Did you get that down?
No.
Welcome to Carno Burger. May I have your order,
I didn't
please?
get that down.
It had a weird dinosaur mochi.
It was a dinosaur burger place.
I remember that Jordan ordered James Duval Nut Liquor. Now I have to keep saying it for continuity's sake. Ordered barbecue beef chunks and Evian and one other thing, but I just remember
fried cheese balls.
That might have been it. Fried cheese. Could I get a fried cheese balls, barbecue beef chunks, and an Evian?
I'll have some barbecue beef chunks, some fried cheese balls, and Avion.
It's a meal of champions.
Yeah, it actually sounds great right now. God damn.
It really does. I mean, you have food.
Right, we do have food.
Do you want to eat it before it gets cold?
Maybe. But also, Amy just orders a Diet Coke because, as is stated multiple times in the movie, she's doing crystal meth. And it's just it's just really hammered home that like she's doing crystal meth.
She's doing crystal meth and she only wants a Diet Coke.
Yeah, you don't ever see her like explicitly do crystal meth, but she's just like, no, I'm doing crystal right now. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's you. That's funny that you never see it. This is when the cashier at the drive-thru.
This is when the first mistaken identity happens.
The first mistaken identity,
which is a recurring motif throughout the movie. He thinks that the cashier thinks her name is Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Sunshine, is that you? I know it's you, Sunshine.
666. Sunshine?
Give me some money.
Sunshine, is that you?
I think you have me mixed up with someone else. Don't add face. Give me some money.
Don't lie to me now. I know it's you.
Look, you fucking chunky pumpkin head. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yep. And she's like,
she doesn't know what he's
fuck
talking
off.
about.
I don't know who you are. And he pulls out a gun.
Because everybody has a shotgun.
Yeah, everyone has a giant shotgun.
Yeah, well, except Parker Posey.
Right. And he's shooting at them as they drive away into the night.
To their second motel.
And he vows that he's going to find her.
If I can't have her, no one can.
Exactly.
Bitch.
Yep. Now we're back at we're back at another motel.
Did you get this one's name?
No.
Damn.
No. They're probably all like Satan illusions.
Yeah, probably.
They're
the Hotel of A, like
yeah. It also begs the question, like, how much time has passed, because they're at another motel, but it's never been daytime again. It hasn't been daytime again yet.
There's like, it's not daytime until like they get because then that night at that motel, they're kind of just Jordan and
Amy are sleeping in bed,
and then fucking Xavier's just like looking at them naked, gets naked, and then he fucks Amy.
Well, he starts kissing her, and then they go into her car.
Like, they're both really into his tattoo.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that tattoo.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Right.
That's how he gets all the jail bait.
Yep. And then they go into her car and they start fucking. Mm-hmm. This is when I started to think that, like, or realize that Xavier is a Satan figure.
Yeah.
Like, tempting the two of them.
That makes sense. That tracks. Yeah, like.
And I also started to question if he was even real.
Yeah, I could see that.
But, if it was like a Fight Club situation or something.
I think he's real.
Yeah. But he's such a parody of a bad person.
Yeah. Yeah. And then while they're fucking, the guy from the
drive-thru,
who loved Sunshine, shows up drunk with a baby doll mask on,
a very creepy baby doll mask,
and puts a shotgun inside Jordan's mouth, and keeps calling him a fairy faggot. Which I'm just like, yeah, we get it.
We get it. He's a faggot.
He wants to fuck. He wants to fuck Xavier. We all know.
What are two homos gabbing about
I love
now?
that everybody can tell, but Jordan.
Yeah.
Everybody but Jordan knows
can
that
tell
Jordan's
that Jordan's
gay. Yeah,
Jordan's gay. But then, of course, Amy comes in and she pretends that she recognizes him, that she's going to take him back.
She's just like, I've waited months for this, darling, with her arms out like a stiff doll, just like, oh yes, it's you.
Yeah, and Xavier again swoops in and he
rips off his arm, and
the guy bleeds.
Yeah,
he shoots it. We don't know, and then he bleeds to death.
It is unclear how the arm was lost, but a gunshot is heard.
Right. And then Xavier is confessing in the car that he's murdered before, and he talks about how the first person he murdered was a cop.
Yeah.
And he says something else racist.
What was the other thing he said?
He says something about grabbing her by her afro. But he says it in a very derogatory way.
Yeah. I didn't even remember that part.
Yeah. And this is why I was noting it, because I was like, well, it's coming up again and again. So, I think this sort of confirmed for me that he's just this demon figure. Yeah. Amy and Xavier go into a thrift store.
Because Jordan lost all his clothes in all these scuffles.
Yeah, Jordan lost
He's just naked and covered in a red blanket.
Very conveniently naked. And she's pissed off at him.
You're like a life support system for a cop.
Xavier said that they fucked.
Yeah, he said that they fucked, so she's pissed off at him for sharing that information
with Jordan. And Jordan's like, it's cool.
Yeah, he doesn't really care. Yeah.
I don't. It's fine.
And Xavier also says jealousy is for old married people. More Satan tempting.
Jealousy is for old married people.
Yeah, exactly. It's not fun. Mm-hmm. And kind of after that is when they decide to stop caring about anything like that.
Yeah. And so after the thrift store, is that when they go to the bar?
Yeah, that's when they go to the bar. So they go to this bar.
And it's shagadelic. They run into our good personal friend of the show. I feel like you can just say that. You don't actually have to, it doesn't have to be true. A good personal friend of the show, of Girls Gets and Gigolos, Parker Posey.
Yep.
And Parker Posey is she also is dealing with mistaken identity, mistaking Rose McGowan's character for someone named Kitten.
Right, someone named Kitten who's her lover.
Yeah, she's like, Kitten, it's me. Randy, your eternal love slave. Your slave.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Oh. And she thinks that the boys have kidnapped her.
Yes.
And
which,
And then she pulls out a katana and threatens Jordan to lop his cock off like a chicken head.
Yes. So we think this is the one lesbian we get.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of them in Gregg Araki movies.
No, there's some in they're actually in the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy. There's at least one lesbian there's 2 lesbians a movie in the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy.
2 lesbian women.
They have they're we've reached our sapphic quota.
Yeah.
We can now focus on gay boys again.
Right.
Yeah.
Parker Posey has an amazing giant blonde wig.
Yeah, and these heart-shaped glasses and
she looks great.
And she has some blonde little scruffy twink in a leather harness fight the guys for her while also like we're making it sound way more cinematic than it is. It looks messy. Like
it looks pretty low budge.
And what's it? Jordan's on a like playing pinball, or no, he's not playing pinball. He's playing like Mortal Kombat or something, and like it keeps flashing back and forth between that and the fight, and then
she accidentally
stabs
one of her twinks.
Yeah, she like jams her sword somehow into his groin.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you make of the mistaken identity thing? Like, how do you interpret that?
I think that a lot of white women look very, very similar. That is what instinctively comes to mind. Let me see if I wrote anything. I don't know. I think so. Here's the thing. Like, speaking of the feminine image in this, I don't think that, like, aside from being like a snotty SoCal hyperbolic teen, that Amy has really any personality for the most part. She's just like a vehicle that I don't know. Yeah, like she's like people put what they want to see on her, and it just keeps happening. Maybe she is Kitten and Sunshine and Bambi. I don't know.
Right. No, I mean that makes makes a lot of sense what you said, because she's kind of like a proxy for Jordan and Xavier to get to fuck each other.
Yeah, that's really what it is.
So
like, so sodomy can occur. Yeah.
She's like the ultimate just projection
of
things.
Yeah, like just if I just wish that Jordan and Xavier could have met without I'm like it could have just been another faggot road movie. You didn't.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like Rose McGowan's great. Nothing against Rose McGowan. It's just like the character of Amy, like there's not much to her character.
There isn't, but in a way she's kind of symbolic. I mean she's just a symbol.
To a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean I feel like in a way she has to be there because we're talking about being closeted.
Yeah.
So it's probably drawn from his own experiences. I mean, he is really interested in this male-female dynamic.
He really, really is.
So it has to be.
Do you know what that kind of threesome's called?
The devil's threesome?
It's the devil's threesome. So.
Oh my God.
It goes back. Yeah.
You genius bitch.
It's the devil threesome.
Yeah. No, seriously though. And like 666.
Yeah.
You know, maybe this movie is a lot smarter than we thought.
Yeah,
originally.
maybe it is. Maybe if it's just making a bunch of threesome jokes,
yes,
we really
very needed. I mean, this was kind of a thing in the 90s though. Did you ever see that movie Threesome?
No. What was that one about?
Male, female relationship.
Love it.
Yeah, and Splendor and yeah, I mean, this was a thing. This was a moment.
I think Gregg was a trendsetter in this department.
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
Heterosexual film by Gregg Araki. I fucking love it. And then there's that shadowy government agency that's just like...
Oh, yeah, we're going to find her and kill her. They're talking about Amy.
Yeah, and they're just like, yeah, this is the only witness, the only suspect we could find from this slew of satanic murder.
Right. And there's these weird signs also in the bar that say obey.
Yeah, those are all over Gregg Araki movies. He just does. I'm like, part of me doesn't want to see symbolism in it because I'm like, he just does that. That's just a thing he does.
It is, but it also is really reminiscent of the movie They Live.
Yeah, no, yeah. I do see that comparison, yeah, because that's like the whole thing in They Live.
Right.
In Nowhere, not to give spoilers or anything, but it's not so much about like Satanism doesn't come up as much as just drugs and murder, but also aliens are involved, like lizard people, aliens, and also like this preacher played by John Ritter, this televangelist played by John Ritter, who's just like telling people to believe, and then a bunch of characters like commit suicide all of a sudden in like extreme ways that like, and it's never shown them dying. It's just like, it's like in this movie where it's just like, they don't show the action because I don't think they could afford the like to do the action, but then they're just like, oh look, this character's dead now of some weird thing.
Jordan and Amy have sex again.
They do.
And this time Xavier bathes while they're having sex.
Yes, that's true. It was, and then later, a little bit after they have sex, or first he's just like, isn't sex just so strange?
Because he's gay.
Yeah. He's just like, it's weird. I don't know if I like this sex. Like, I wonder if there's a reason why he was a virgin before he met Xavier. Like,
What are two homos gabbing about now?
Right, totally.
it's the only way you can get it up. And then later, again mirroring an earlier scene, he goes off somewhere and Xavier and Amy start fucking, and he watches outside of a window and starts beating off to it.
Yeah, watching. Obviously, I mean, the camera's on Xavier's face, so he's watching Xavier.
Yeah.
That's when they say, I love you, fucker.
I love you,
Amy,
fucker.
This is when Amy and Xavier play the strangling game.
Oh, yeah, where it's just like, if you can... I love it. The strangling game. You say it with such joy. The strangling game. It
was hot.
Yeah, no, I thought that was hot. Where she was just like, if I can make you laugh in 8 seconds, or make you smile, I get to strangle you to death. If not, you can do whatever you want with me. And then they do that, and then...
She wins.
And then she doesn't strangle him to death. Spoilers.
They fuck.
They fuck, and then... Nutlicker James Duval
Jordan watches it and he jerks off.
And
he goes, this is when he goes to like yo-yo in that weird apocalyptic canyon.
Yeah, he just like goes and yo-yos, or he gets a light yo-yo and he's like, and some shrimp nuts. He's like, I'm gonna get some shrimp nuts. Weird apocalyptic canyon. It's California. Those are everywhere. You'll get used to it. And the next day I know him and Xavier talk about threesomes, and he's just like, having sex with multiple people at once? What's that like?
Yeah. Is this when they're in the car?
Yeah.
And Amy hits the dog.
Oh, yeah.
That's really sad.
And then the tonal shift just majorly shifts.
Definite key change.
Yeah, and they're like, it's like the one serious moment up to that point in the film where like Xavier puts on his cowboy hat that he got at the thrift store and puts the dog out of its misery, and like,
right.
Yeah.
What do you make of that scene? Do you feel like it's just a signal about this key change that we're gonna have?
I kind of think it's mainly a signal of the key change, and like to make it, well, because a lot's about to happen and they want you to at least feel some sympathy for these characters if you've not already accumulated any. And so like their reaction is like, oh no, this is bad. Like a dog dying is bad.
Right.
Us running over a dog by accident is bad. And then
it's an omen.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so they end up at a record store.
And this is when Xavier starts to get like sexually harassed.
Yeah, by some fucking Nazi punks.
By some Nazi punks who are like, you know, gay bashing him essentially. But it sounds like I
like that everybody just knows that they're gay. They're just like, you're a fucking faggot. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And they start cornering him. Oh, also, Amy says she misses her records. Like, she wants to go home. Yeah. It just kind of shows what a kid she really is.
Yeah, she's like, I miss my records.
Yeah. These guys start cornering him. I thought, am I wrong? I thought, were these supposed to be the guys from the beginning?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a new group of guys.
It's a new group of guys. Yeah, no, I don't think any of these characters have any... The shadowy government agency never comes up again. Yeah. Like, they just were in that one scene. Yeah, I think it's a new group of guys, and the leader of this group sees Rose McGowan and is just like, Bambi?
Yeah.
Is that you?
So it's another mistake.
I would get so sick of that shit. Like, just like, yeah.
They go to the abandoned spot.
Yeah.
The abandoned squat.
And so first, there's just a lot of times where it's just like, it's the same formula over. I think this is why it's not my favorite Gregg Araki movie, because it's just like, they meet this character. violence occurs for some reason. They drive. Motel. Someone sexes. Someone watches. They drive. Mistaken identity. Some violence happens.
At the same time, it sort of illustrates this like endless hellish cycle that they're in.
Yeah.
Because we have no idea how much time has passed.
Yeah.
It's like a purgatory almost.
They're just doing this. Yeah. It's just this.
Like the same. You're doomed to repeat the same thing over and over again.
And so Xavier tells Amy to finger his asshole while they fuck. What? That's what happened.
No, that is. But I could only get hold of the R-rated version, and I haven't seen this like the original since high school.
Okay.
So the R-rated version, they didn't have that.
What?
Yeah.
What happened next?
What happens next is they flip a coin to see who gets to fuck Amy first. And Xavier and Amy just have sex. They don't have that part.
He doesn't say stick your finger up my butt?
No, I don't think so.
That's so weird, because then after he does, she's like, ew, what? No, I'm not going to do that. And then she does it. And then this is the hottest part of the movie. She then has sex with Jordan and puts her finger up his butt. And he's like, what are you doing? And then, like, I know, guys, like, it's not the best consent, but it's like
a movie.
It's a fucking trash movie.
Yeah.
And also, like, whatever. And so she's just like, it's cool, just chill. And then he really starts loving it and losing his mind. I'm like, yes, finger.
They took that out of the R-rated version. Like, butthole fingering was too much for them.
It was 95. It was a different time.
Yeah.
And then they start threesoming.
And then they started having a threesome.
Did it just launch straight into threesome?
It launched straight into threesome.
That's so weird. Because the butthole fingering is just so essential to the plot. And
it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I love the butthole fingering. That's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, literally, that's what I mean when I'm like, oh yeah, it's like her with the popsicle and Jawbreaker. Like, the fucking Nazi punks from before show up.
Show up at the squat.
And just general, like, trigger warning, bad.
I always say, like, don't listen to this podcast.
Yeah, it's about, like,
it's about controversial films.
So I don't even remember how, like, so they show up, those Nazis, during their bisexual threesome, and
Amy goes to pee.
Right.
And they're kind of alone, and you're thinking maybe they might have sex.
Right. And then what happens to the guys first? Like, do they get tied up first?
They get tied up. Amy also gets tied up.
And then is it the Star Spangled Banner that plays over, like, the strobe light?
And there's an American flag.
And they rape Amy.
On an American flag.
And then
and she's completely silent while it happens.
Yeah. And then they take some garden shears. Am I missing a part?
No, you're right.
They take, am I skipping any important, awful things that happen? They take some garden shears and use them to cut off Jordan's dick, like was referenced when Parker Posey said she was going to do that, but with a katana.
And his last words are, I love you, Amy.
And then what does Xavier do, that thing he keeps doing where he, like, saves the day somehow?
Yep.
What is it? How does he do it again? He, like...
it's really Amy and Xavier.
Yeah.
Oh, Amy, it's really her. She gets out
Yay!
of the bars and she fucking kills those guys.
Great. How did she kill them again? Why am I forgetting?
She's like stabbing them with
Great.
something.
Awesome. I love that for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, and, like, then you just see them run away.
Xavier and Amy.
Yeah, Xavier and Amy.
So we assume Jordan is dead.
Yeah, and then the last scene is just them in their car with their sunglasses on, being aloof, and cut to credits.
Yeah. I mean, she gets raped on the American flag.
Yeah, while the Star Spangled Banner plays.
Yeah, by naked dudes with swastikas painted on their chest.
So, you know.
It's really fucked up ending.
Yeah, it's very, Gregg goes for subtlety.
Yeah, subtle he is not, for sure. So what are some closing thoughts about this film?
I think that last scene always, I think, like, I can handle watching a lot, and, like, I think I just, like, tend to not watch this movie as much for a lot of reasons. It doesn't resonate with me as much as some of his other films. And that last scene is intense.
It's really intense, and I just found it really shocking to watch her getting raped on the American flag, and she's just completely silent.
Yeah, that was a lot. And then the garden shear hate crime as well, like, on top of that. I'm like, okay, did they put it in his mouth?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, yeah, they cut it off, and then, yeah, it's just a lot for a movie that's not technically a horror movie, but it's, like, exploitation-y. I don't know. I think he did what he wanted to do. Gregg Araki did what he wanted to do.
Mean, it seems to me like he really just wanted to make something that was offensive or
and upsetting,
and for the sake of it.
I think out of the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy, it is definitely the most upsetting for the sake of making something upsetting. It actually has, out of all of them, I think the most, like, hate towards the LGBT characters in it and like the women in it. Whereas the others, like, it's not as much of, that's not as prominent.
Why do you think Jordan has to be the one who dies?
Because he's the one who didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. At least in this narrative, which is like a small cast. And he's just, like, again, strung along in all of this. He doesn't, like, it could have just been Amy hanging out, meeting a drifter.
Yeah.
But Amy's character is too aggressive, and, like, from the beginning, even when, like, Xavier's saying all this mean shit to Amy, this fucking rude ass shit, like, Jordan's just like, come on, Amy, he didn't mean anything by it. You were just joking, right, X? Like,
right.
I really like doing that James Duval impression.
You're really good at it.
Thank you.
Well, also, it seems to me that all of this really awful shit goes down once Jordan begins to confront his desire for Xavier.
That's true.
Like, when they're about to have a threesome, that's when the literal Nazis, come in, and it's like your worst nightmare. When somebody who is dealing with a lot of internalized hatred.
Yeah, and it's like not like, it's not like shown as like necessarily internalized hatred, but definitely just like not being like, when you're finally like confronting like what makes you happy, and then like Nazis and people threatening to lop your like genitals off, and like a bunch of awful shit, rape, like, yeah, it's not great. The ending of my review of the ending of the Doom Generation, it's not great.
I mean, it's really like glib.
Yeah, that is, yeah.
This movie got compared a lot when it came out to Natural Born Killers.
I understand that fully. I thought about that. Yeah. It's less of an ensemble than the other ones in the trilogy. I keep talking about a trilogy of movies that like very few people have seen. Like,
no, it's okay. You can talk about it because they all really go together.
They do, yeah. They relate a lot to each other. Nowhere's really hard to find because there's no DVDs of it, because they got Gregg Araki got a lot of really great music for it that was really hard to license. So there's only VHSs and an Australian DVD that is rumored.
Oh, okay. I shout out to my friend at the Video Hole, Jason, on Instagram, who sent me a copy of Doom Generation, because these films are really hard to find. Yeah,
like Doom Generation, like a little bit easier because it is highly Tumblr-ed as we. Yeah, but like it's I don't know. Yeah.
And 10 minutes of the film were cut to make it R-rated people walked out of the screening at Sundance.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, now I fully believe that. That happens at so many Gregg Araki. Yeah. He's made it clear that he's very, very used to that. I think he likes it.
He sure does.
He, again, it's why I compare him to, like, John Waters, because it's just, like, he likes, like, shocking people, and, like, it's interesting looking at how a queer director likes to shock people compared to how, like, straight white directors like to shock people, and it's like, yeah.
And he likes to shock people in a way that I can relate to, where he's using things that he actually experiences to shock people. Yeah. Like racism, homophobia. Yeah. Like, he's throwing it in there. It's funny to him. Yeah. It's which I get.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, Gregg Araki's, like, personal life experiences, and I think he does a lot to make his movies in their extremities just seem so, like, not like their personal stories. But also I think there's a pretty through line with his protagonists in not just the Teenage Apocalypse trilogy, but a lot of them being, like, feeling lost and, like...
Generation X. Yeah. Xavier. I'm stoned, guys.
I was about to say, I was just like, I gave you a joint. Yeah. I'm like, oh, like, what did you, sorry. What did you expect? Yeah. Looking at your bag, this is Glampire. Bless. Yeah. I'm not stoned. I just ate Umami Burger. This episode is not sponsored by Umami Burger, but they are great.
Thank you so much. For taking time out of your night to talk with me about this movie.
And again, shout out to friend of Girls Guts and Giallo, Parker Posey. Yeah. Personal friend of the show, right?
Yeah, personal friend. She's here all the time.
She's great.
She won't stop calling me.
She's just your eternal love slave. Yeah.
Where can people find you on social media?
So they can find me at the Gay Chingy on Instagram and Twitter. So, like, the rapper Chingy, but get gay. Because I'm gay.
You should follow her. She's the best.
I'm pretty alright.
Best bottom content on the web.
That's true. That is factual.
That's factual. That's just facts.
Like, people. you can't just, that's just undeniable. Thank you for having me on your lovely podcast to talk about a movie that's alright. Yeah.
A movie that's alright, but is very interesting in the context of his entire canon.
Yeah, and also, like, Gregg Araki, if you're listening to this, I'm available if you want to cast me in anything. Like,
cast her.
Like, I've watched so many of your things. I will criticize a lot of them, including Kaboom, because Kaboom wasn't great.
We're going to email him this podcast.
Yeah. I love you, Greg. I love you.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Girls Guts and Giallo. You can also follow my personal account at FatGawth, FATGAWTH.
That's how that's spelled.
And until next time, I'm Annie Rose Malamet.
I mean, you won't. I mean, am I going to be on a... Okay, I'm Chingy.